Alrighty, folks, Professor Priest, welcoming you here to this exclusive interview. The man to my left, joining me here in beautiful southeastern Michigan. 2 weeks away from Seize the Day, certainly no stranger to the fans of Clash Wrestling. The 2018 All Out War winner, two-time Clash Wrestling heavyweight champion, who should be competing for his third championship on February 16th in the main event of Seize the Day, who should be competing against James Alexander, the current and reigning Clash heavyweight champion. Elk, my good friend, good evening to you. Good to see you, buddy.
Great to see you, Matthew Priest, as always.
There's so much to talk about. The Clash heavyweight championship, Clash management, what should be the biggest night of your career, maybe your life. Certainly you're no stranger to the Clash heavyweight championship, Elk.
Two-time champion. I
Yes,
mean,
go
there's only been three other people to hold the belt multiple times, and this is another opportunity for me to enter the echelon of people who've only won the belt 3 times. So you'd think that this would be Clash Wrestling's biggest night. You could potentially have one of the greatest champions in James Alexander. You might not like the way he does things, but God bless him, he's the champion for a reason. He's
Absolutely.
been on 205 Live, traveling the world. And then you got Elk. You've got one of the most dominant wrestlers in Clash Wrestling for the last dozen years. This could be one of the biggest matches ever.
To your point, you are a two-time champion, and your second championship reign, well, let's just say it began 3 years ago. Seize the Day 9, the journey began. The Clash heavyweight champion, Elk, two-time champ, finally getting it. But you never really lost that. And what are your thoughts?
That's one of the things that sort of sparked this whole thing that's going on between me and Clash management at this point. As you said, I never lost the Clash Wrestling Championship. It was put up for grabs in some gimmicky book bag match. I mean, you're well aware of it. I actually pinned somebody. I did my job.
The first fall of the match.
The first fall of the match to get a book bag that happens to be for the tag team championship. And then you have Tommy Tresnick, who gets a pinfall later on, the last pinfall, and it happens to be the Clash Wrestling Championship. So I never lost that championship, and right away I'm like, well, that's fine, but where's the rematch?
And did you ever get your rematch?
No, I didn't get the rematch. It's been 3 years, like you said. Well, it's been longer than that since I've gotten that rematch. And how many times have I lost in between then? Matthew Priest, you're a historian here. You know, once in that time frame, maybe if you count the RJ City match. So it's just a little ridiculous that I had to jump through all these hoops to get to, and we're still trying to jump through hoops because we don't even know what's happening at Seize the Day.
Absolutely, and you mentioned the RJ City match, and that kind of leads into the other thing. You've been talking about Clash management and this controversy, conspiracy theory, if you will. What are the kids up there calling it? The pound sign with the poster gate, right?
Yeah, I think it's hashtag.
Hashtag.
We'll get you caught up.
Okay, my apologies. Mm-hmm. And it began, back at Age of Allegiance in May. And you mentioned the RJ City match. I'm making my point here, I promise. And there was some very mirror in that, where you didn't really lose the match because a fan,
because we've done a little digging,
yes.
You know that, a fan gets a little overzealous. I hate to say the word distraction, but my attention's pulled away from what it should have been focused on, and RJ City got me. I went for the spear, hit my head on a steel chair, of course, just in time for the referee to get back in the ring after they escort the young man out of the building. And and that's how RJ City gets a win against Elk.
Which your crew is fantastic. Really, what almost brought them to the forefront was the show prior to Divided We Fall with the RJ City match, where you were wrestling James Alexander, the current reigning Clash heavyweight champion. At Clash and Burn in August of 2018, you finally get your rematch for the belt, and you weren't advertised on that show either. But
not at all.
Elaborate further here, Mr. Elk.
This title belt, and this is why it bugs me so much. It's one thing, hey, put me on the posters, great. Really, it doesn't matter all that much. What matters is you would think that Clash management is going to respect the championship that they've elevated to what it is today. I mean, you look around, there's not very many promotions in the state, let alone the country, that can say they've got 12 years worth of history behind their championship. And you look at the guys that have come into Clash Wrestling. We've had Tommy Dreamer. We've had Petey Williams. We've had Raven. We've had Marty Jannetty. Some of those guys were Clash champions. Some of them weren't. And those are the best guys ever in the world in history. So to not advertise a match for that championship, to me, is one of the most boneheaded things that you can do. So I'm wrestling James Alexander again for this championship that apparently means more to me than it does to Clash Wrestling. And how many matches have you ever witnessed for the championship have a 10-minute time limit?
None off the top of my head.
None, exactly. So apparently in this match, there's a 10-minute time limit that I'm completely unaware of because, again, I mean, I got to have some of these three wise guys looking at the contracts a little better. But they ring the bell, and then we get the footage back. We look at it. There's still 4 seconds left. I hit Alexander with the spear. The referee gets down there, hits a 1 count. Plenty of time for 2 more seconds. So even though they cheated me out of, let's say, 50 minutes, even though I had them dead to rights in under 10, there's still 4 more seconds that weren't going off the clock here. That, I mean, come on, guys. What's going on?
It was unbelievable to me. I was ringside. I saw the
Oh,
card.
I know you were ringside because I gave it to you a little bit.
You sure did. You gave me the business, but well deserved. I mean, you're frustrated. You have every right. You had the championship in your grasp. It's what we all fight for. It's what we all strive for. It's what every competitor in Clash Wrestling wants. And when you're mere seconds away from obtaining this, the bell just happens to ring. You, unbeknownst to you, you think you won, but
absolutely
comes to find out that there was a typo on the card because clearly a match that should have had a 10-minute time limit was given 60 and your match was given 10. How that gets by is unbelievable to me, and there's no comment from Clash management regarding this. But let's continue on the fast forward trend here. Maybe you talked to James Alexander, your previous match. Should be your opponent at Seize the Day. Hopefully justice is served and you get your championship match that you earned by winning the All Out War match just a few months back. But James Alexander, great competitor, masterful,
absolutely,
mastermind in the ring, comes in the ring with a strategy, a very skilled technician, strict training regimen, guy's always in the gym, looks like $1 million. He's the poster boy, if you will, of Clash Wrestling. But why do you think he's the poster boy of Clash Wrestling?
Well, I mean, I think that you're unfortunately right. I think that he ticks a lot of the boxes. You know, I think he's got a great look. He looks like a guy who's going to push posters. He's going to push T-shirts. He's going to put butts in the seats. But, you know, we're not in the business of looking good. We're in the business of winning matches. And that's what I've done continuously, not only for the last 3 years, for the last 12 years, for as long as I've been a part of Clash Wrestling. I've been winning matches left and right, winning championships. And, I think that the fans have given me a lot of support. I'm very thankful for that. I know sometimes I haven't necessarily deserved it in the past, but they're behind me right now. And I mean, come on, if that's what we're talking about, I think I can be up there with anybody, not even counting the skill. So I think you're right. I think it's about, who's going to look good on that poster.
Absolutely. And I mentioned All Out War. You won it. You outlasted every other competitor in that matchup. You won. And as you were about to raise your hands in victory, there was one more competitor come out. A man who is a good friend of yours. I mean, he seems to be.
That's what I thought. I mean, how do you even talk about it?
I mean, a year ago, I can tell it's a touchy subject. Have you talked to Cameron Sky, as we were talking about, since? So you have not talked to him?
Not at all.
But you guys were a tag team 1 year ago at Seize the Day, competing for the tag team championships.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, me and Cameron have a history that goes back since my first wrestling match. I debuted at the MPCI, so, there's a lot of history. In 2008, June the 13th, I think it was, 2008, and the second ever professional wrestling match I had was against Cameron Sky.
Wow.
And, along the way, we've been friends, we've been enemies a little bit, but there's always been respect. There's always been, a degree of camaraderie. I mean, the wrestling business can be a little cutthroat at times, and Cameron was always a guy that, yeah, we might be tearing each other apart in the ring, but he's a guy that I can trust with a lot of things. And then he takes a sabbat. First of all, we're at the NPCI. We're very close to being tag team champions. There are a lot of tough teams in the match, and we suffered a setback there, but we could have bounced back. We could be tag team champions right now. And he takes a sabbatical. He leaves for 3 months, and hey, it happens to everybody. Everybody needs to take a little break, and I was supporting him through the whole thing. I was hoping that he'd come back. Had no idea he was going to come back the way he did.
Well, absolutely. And you mentioned 3 months is when we saw him, but the Clash Wrestling fans didn't see him for 10 months.
Yeah, I mean,
and, he comes out all out war, surprising many. We both know Cameron Sky well. He was the first ever Clash heavyweight champion, dating back to the very first Seize the Day in 2008. So this is the Seize the Day 12. Cameron Sky has he is the archetype, if you will, of Clash Wrestling. So it's interesting there. You have James Alexander, you have Cameron Sky. There's a lot of other competitors deep and down the roster, but before we elaborate on everybody, we don't have the time for that, Alk. Is there anything you would like to just address one last time about Clash management, about Seize the Day, about the championship? I mean, the forum is yours.
Look, this is something that, like you said, started back in 2017. I never lost the championship, and then it was like Elk didn't lose the championship, and then it becomes a little bit of an afterthought. We're not going to put it on the posters. We're not putting Elk on the posters, and then you get the time limit match. You get who we found out is Jeremy Jones's brother rushing the ring. We get secret matches. We get secret entries in All Out War. And I mean, I'm not a conspiracy guy, and to say it's not a conspiracy, but where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm a caveman, for Pete's sake. I'm pretty familiar with that old adage. So, this is something I feel like it's coming to a head at Seize the Day. I mean, this is an opportunity that I don't deserve. This opportunity. It's not owed to me. This is something that I earned.
Absolutely. For
the last 3 years of beating who I've beaten, for winning the matches that I've won and winning All Out War, this is a match that I've earned, and I want to make sure that it gets paid in full on February 16th.
February 16th, ladies and gentlemen, Seize the Day 12, taking place at the Taylortown Trade Center. Stay tuned to Clash Wrestling for more information on this event, and stay tuned as Elk, who should be competing in the main event that evening against James Alexander, hopefully justice is served, the hashtag Postergate, the hashtag Justice for Elk. Let your voices be heard for the faithful here of our main man, Elk. Elk, thank you so much for your time.
Dave,
I appreciate
thanks for coming.
it.
Thank you so much for coming.
No problem.
And one thing for the fans here, let's hear it for me.